Okay, if you type in on YouTube into the search bar Sky Sports Abu Dhabi 2021, you will get a selection of results, and you'll see all the bullshit propaganda that this corrupt media company paid to validate the corruption has produced. One that I've just had a look at is this one. How long could Mercedes protest decision take? The latest on Abu Dhabi Grand Prix controversy. 192,000 views. So let's have a look at this one. Let's go on to this. Oh, advert. They'll be getting some money out of this.
Like a bit of friendly competition with the Ladbrokes.
A bit of competition, yeah. Under the rules of the competition, yeah. As long as there's rules which aren't going to be broken, I've got no issue with a bit of competition. Let's skip the advert. So, we've got the circle jerking frat boys here, all looking cool. So we've got Lazenby, we've got Button, we've got Hill, Rosberg, and into the mix comes Craig Slater. So let's have a look at what they're saying. Oh, and before we do, let's just have a look at this. The stats are 2,000 likers. Yay, we like this. And 192,000 views. So again, 192,000 people have had their opinions influenced by this presentation. Right, let's have a look what this presentation is.
We've all been sort of rushing around trying to figure out what the next steps are. An element of guesswork at the moment, but what can you tell us about the next steps, Craig?
Okay. We're all a bit of guesswork. We don't know. We're the presented experts of the sport. We are broadcasting to a global audience, explaining to you what is likely to happen here. Okay? You don't know. We do. We work in the industry. We know about the sport. We're going to explain to you what needs to happen, what was wrong, and gonna keep you informed about it. So let's you inform us, please, lads.
From your imagination.
Well, I think I'm in
from your imagination. Here we go.
For a potentially very long night here, Simon, unfortunately, and possibly a day tomorrow as well. So the situation is, both teams, as you know, were summoned to the stewards.
Why? Can you tell us why both teams are summoned to the stewards, Craig? Because ultimately, the crux of the matter is Mercedes were protesting to the governing body that the governing body's race director has broken the rules of the sport. So why does this involve both teams? This issue is between Mercedes, the team that's protesting, and the governing body. What are both teams doing there? Have you alluded in any way to the fact that the alarm bell should be ringing at the involvement of both teams? Because that is not what this argument is about, is it?
And they were given a little bit of a break, and they were instructed to come back and get their evidence together, and we've just obviously seen...
Get their evidence together. What evidence? What evidence can Red Bull possibly present in this situation? The evidence, the crux of the case is: has the FIA broken the rules of the sport? Yes or no? And the simple answer is yes, it has. There is nothing that Red Bull can present to validly counter that argument. They shouldn't even have the opportunity to attempt to counter that argument. Right, and let's be clear about this. The current safety car rules that were in play at that moment in time were introduced back for the start of the 2012 season. The Red Bull had contested 199 Grand Prix under those rules. They were fully aware of what them rules were. So if Red Bull attempts, number one, they shouldn't even be involved in this process anyway. They have no right to present. But anything they do present has no validity because, as I say, they've contested 199 Grand Prix under these rules. They know what them rules are. So for them to try now to present that them rules aren't what they are, do you not think it's a little bit late, having agreed to them for 199 Grand Prix and benefited from them in some of them Grand Prix? You know what them rules exactly are. So if you now try and claim that there's something different, you are creating a fraudulent argument. A fraudulent presentation designed entirely to benefit yourself. Let's listen to what you've got to say about that, Craig.
Christian Horner and Adrian Newey go in on Red Bull's behalf. So this is a continuation of that earlier meeting. But I think the timeline is significant.
So what you're doing, you're just making out as though this is normal. You're in no way expressing what the fuck is going on here. You just explain it as if, oh yeah, and they're going to just do this, and then they're going to do this, and that's what the procedure's going to be. Okay? You should be saying, what? This is nothing to do with Red Bull. What are they even doing there?
Significant, just to be absolutely clear about this. So we could have a decision from the stewards whether or not they uphold or don't Mercedes protest tonight. Mercedes would then have license via FIA protocols to go via their appeals procedure, but only until Thursday, as I understand it, because the prize-giving ceremony at the FIA to crown the world champion.
So, straight away, you are diverting this forward to this notion of the Thursday of the week being a crux moment. What are you doing to suggest? Well, this argument is quite a simple process. What has taken place is there. What was manufactured to enable that last lap is clearly a breach of everything that has taken place over the course of the last 10 seasons. It is totally unprecedented. There is nothing within the rules that enables that. And therefore, how on earth can the stewards dismiss Mercedes' appeal? Because Mercedes' appeal is valid here. But what you're doing is saying, oh, well, if they dismiss it, then Mercedes will have till Thursday to appeal it. And straight away, you as a broadcaster is coming up with these options to inform the watching public that what you're doing, you're getting into their heads, you're getting into their minds, you're convincing people that this is a potential, this is the direction that this may well go, this is what may happen here. Why should that happen? There is absolutely no reason that that should happen. If things are done correctly, if things are not in any way corrupt, there is absolutely no way that this should happen. So why are you saying this?
Is a cut-off point for all of that, but there would be further recourse via the Court of Arbitration for Sport, so potentially this could go on and on. Mercedes brought Paul Harris with them specifically for this Grand Prix because they thought there could be some kind of difficult issue.
Right, so what are you doing? Have you broken down what the problem is, the simple solution, or are you just fluffing? Is this things that you've been conditioned to tell people, this is the script, this is the information we need to pass to the world? Okay, make the situation murky for people so that it's not clear for them to understand. Okay, make them think that there's these variables that are involved and that, oh, well, there's a barrister involved and that involves law, which you won't understand because law's far too complicated for you. You silly people, you don't understand law. That's why they've got this barrister, and if he can't sort it, nobody can because this is law. Okay, this is your bullshit. This is what you're gaslighting people with. This is just throwing into the mix stuff that's ultimately irrelevant. It's simple, and you're just clouding the picture and conditioning people with eventualities that shouldn't even be possible.
Regulatory issue to untangle, and they do think the more serious of the two matters they have protested is this issue of the protocols, the sporting regulations not being...
The protocols, the rules, okay? The rules of the sport have been broken.
Followed, they just simply think...
Not been followed, they've been broken. You've neglected the chances of all of those competitors in that race, specifically for the benefit of one. You've broken the rules and created that. You've broken the rules, which are the sporting regulations. That contravenes the FIA International Sporting Code. That is very simple.
That final lap shootout that we had should not have occurred.
there are a few journalists up and down this paddock that are saying mistakes were made upstairs.
Wonder why they're saying that. A few journalists up and down this paddock. Okay, so they know. Which of those journalists has gone on to expose to the world exactly what I'm exposing to the world? Because in the immediate aftermath, you might not have realised that you were being presented with a narrative by F1 TV with the pictures that they were showing you and the interjection of the radio messages that they were giving you. You may not have fully realised that Martin Brundle and David Croft were lying to you in commentary. You might have bought this cover story of it being a guy under pressure that has made an error under pressure, because you weren't told there's actually at least 10 people in race control that all know the rules of the sport. Okay? Now we all know that. Now we can see that. Which of those journalists that knew it was wrong at the time has ever gone on to expose this? They haven't. Okay? So, talk us through it, Lazenby.
I mean, you have to take into account, I suppose, and I'll just put this one back to the drivers for the moment before I come back to you on this one, Craig, that they're under a huge amount of pressure. I mean, of all...
Oh, what are we doing? We're excusing. Oh, straight away. Oh, you've got to understand, everybody's under a huge amount of pressure. Okay, so you've just watched the Football World Cup final, and the referee has been corrupt, and he has seen Lionel Messi get fouled in the centre circle, and he's given Argentina a penalty, which he knows, if they score it, is going to win them the World Cup. Do the commentators of the sport stand around afterwards having a circle jerk like this and say, oh, well, you've got to understand here that the referee's under so much pressure? Or do they say, that guy is clearly corrupt? Oh, he's under so much pressure. He's under so much pressure to break the rules there. So you've got to understand that. You've got to make allowances for him because he's under so much pressure.
All the times for this to happen, right at the end, within the last 5 laps of this entire season, I mean, you're going to have your wits about you. As Martin was saying, there's a book this thick. And if
Oh, as Martin was saying, there is a book that's this thick. Okay, so... look, you ignorant people that don't read and can't understand shit. There's a book that's this thick, and there's no way you'll understand it because you're thick and you can't read a big book. Unless it's got crayons and unless it's got pictures, unless it's only got 3 big words, you won't understand it. That's the generation of people that it wants to appeal to. The TikTok generation, the Instagram generation, anything longer than 15 seconds, and people have moved on because they can't concentrate for that long. Oh, it's this thick, and you won't understand it. You know what? It's your job to understand it if you're the referee of that sport. It's your job. You're paid to do that. You've got the pinnacle job in that sport, in the world. It's your job. And actually, the bit that relates to what took place here is a paragraph. So don't start quoting that the book is this thick. It doesn't matter. It's a procedure that we've seen over the course of 10 years. We've seen the safety car deployments. We've seen 52 instances of races resuming after a safety car situation. It's a known thing. Don't try and excuse it. Don't try and excuse the fact that it was done completely wrong for the entire purpose of setting it up for Max Verstappen.
If you don't know it to the letter of the law, I know these guys study it all the time.
If you don't know it to the letter of the law, I know these guys study it all the time. Right, does anybody say that when there's an offside decision in football? Does anybody say that when we all know the rules of the sport? Does everybody get out the football rule book and have to go through the wording of the football rule book and go, any player that his toe is in advance of the last defender is deemed to be in an offside position if the ball is played. Oh, any player. That doesn't mean all players, is it? Technically, we can argue that the offside rule is different. Does that happen? No, it doesn't, does it? Because that's not what happens in sport, genuine sport, which isn't being manipulated.
it's an incredibly difficult situation for them.
Yeah,
No, it's not. It's pretty straightforward. But what you're doing, again, is you're projecting to the world that it's a difficult situation. It's one that's going to... You all need to make allowances for everybody in this because it's so difficult. And we're all human, aren't we? And as humans, we can make errors. And therefore, we all need to make allowances for the fact that they've just set this up for one guy to win and rob another guy of it. Oh, it's just a bit difficult. No, it's fucking corruption. It is fucking corruption.
we were saying that it's such a difficult weekend for Michael Massey.
Oh, it's such a difficult job for the refereeing the World Cup final. You know, and the fact that he cheated and gave Argentina a penalty for the foul that was clearly in the halfway line and given them a penalty. Yeah, it's difficult for him, isn't it? Shut the fuck up.
But it's his job, so he should
Well, there you go. Kind of is, isn't it?
know the rules.
Yeah, of course.
And he wanted to get the race going.
Irrelevant. Your job is to officiate on the grounds of, is it safe to go racing? Have I carried out the required procedures to enable racing to resume? The safety aspect is ensuring that that track is clear and dealt with correctly and safe to go racing again. And then, is it possible to resume racing? And the only way that it's possible to go racing is to restart that in the correct manner. The correct manner is to ensure that the cars, all competitors, are in the correct race order, nose to tail. Not with lapped cars in situ. That hasn't happened for 10 years. And it's given them the opportunity to be in that correct race order and nose to tail by ensuring that additional mandatory safety car lap is carried out. You didn't do either of those two things, therefore it wasn't possible to go racing. You sent them racing, knowing that only two competitors had any chance of winning that race because the third competitor was blocked off from doing so. You did that knowing that the car in second place has on fresh tyres because the one in first place had looked at the situation, their team had looked at the strategy of the entire situation and realised it should end up with a safety car finish. So there's no need to pit onto new tyres and you don't risk losing track position. So therefore, you know that you are contriving the outcome of that race. And that's what he did.
to have one last lap because it is a sport and he wanted it to be.
Because it is a sport. So what you're doing again, Button, is you're validating. Oh, well, we wanted to see one racing lap because it is a sport. You saw sport. There were 58 laps. For 53 of them, Lewis Hamilton was obliterating his opponents. You saw sport. And in this sport, if a safety incident prevents racing and so racing has to be neutralised, that is what happens. During every safety car deployment, every safety car you see in this sport, you're not watching racing. Racing is neutralised. It's only possible to watch racing when the conditions enable racing to be there. It wasn't possible. So don't start trying to make excuses for it now. Again, what you're doing to the global watching audience is going, yeah, well, we all wanted to see racing, didn't we? We all wanted to see racing. You saw racing. You saw a guy was beating the other guy by 12 seconds. Racing had to be neutralised due to a safety incident. That's what happened in this sport. Don't try to validate anything else happening.
Be decided as a sport, as them competing rather than behind a safety car. But
right. It's not, oh, so they decided to have them competing. Right. We had to end this event because of a safety concern. But actually, rather than do that, what we decided was we wanted to see them competing. So we sent them footballers back onto the pitch, knowing that there were only 3 players still at the ground from that one team because they'd all gone home because they knew that it was the end of the match. But we wanted to see it end as a sport, didn't we? So we sent them 3 players out. There were still 11 players left of the other team, but we wanted to see what would happen just for that last minute to see if that one team with 11 players left would still score a goal because we wanted to see it end as a sport, didn't we? Shut the fuck up.
But as we've seen, the regulations say otherwise, that he wasn't able to do that.
I think key to this possibly being dismissed on Mercedes' side is how much discretion Michael Massey.
Key to this being dismissed on Mercedes' side, Slater. Slater, so you're proposing that the stewards may dismiss the Mercedes appeal. Why would that happen, Slater? Okay, why would you present that the stewards may dismiss the Mercedes appeal? What do you know? Why on earth would you argue that case? Let's listen again.
Possibly being dismissed on Mercedes' side is how much discretion Michael Massey has personally to make these calls or to judge when a situation is right or wrong within the framework of the rules. And I think.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is put forward the notion that the race director has it within his discretion to pick and choose which competitors he's going to allow, which competitors he's going to enable to compete for the race win. He doesn't have that within his discretion. He doesn't have that within his discretion to separate out just two competitors in a Grand Prix and let them race off for its win, blocking off third place from doing so. But you're suggesting, oh, we need to decide, part of the argument could be, is whether that's within the race director's discretion. It simply isn't. But Slater here, oh fuckboy Slater, he seems to think, oh yeah, but part of why the reason that Mercedes argument could be because it could be within the race director's discretion, and how much of that is within his discretion to be allowed to do that? Absolute gaslighting fuck.
That's what we could end up with this evening, that he has enough discretion as the race director to make those calls.
And
no, he doesn't. As I've just explained, it's not within the race director's discretion to be able to decide who he is going to allow to compete in that race.
Presumably, Craig, he's going to get some serious backing from FIA lawyers here too, because...
Oh, so let's bring up the term lawyers again. Oh, he's going to get some serious backing from FIA lawyers. And everyone goes, oh, powerful lawyers. This is getting serious. If the lawyers are getting involved, then they're going to have such power to argue that they're right because they're lawyers. No, things are either right or they're not. Okay, doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer or not. If you want to try and argue that it's corrupt, doesn't make you right. Doesn't matter that you're a lawyer. Things are that are right or they're not. In this situation, they're not right. I don't give a fuck about an FIA lawyer, because if you attempt to argue validity to this, you are arguing corruptly. You are a corrupt lawyer. But, Sky Sports, presumably the FIA lawyers, let's all be scared of those.
It is their reputation here that is at stake a little.
It's a black eye for Formula One, this.
Their reputation. Yeah, their reputation. Well, their reputation is the fact. I don't care about reputation. The fact is they are a corrupt organisation. They are criminals. Absolute criminals. The FIA are criminal. They are fraudulent, corrupt, criminal bastards.
If we don't get a decision, certainly tonight, I mean, this has been a huge global event, the eyes of the world on it. The one thing, as you've kept saying, we didn't want was a...
Yeah, global event. And in front of the entire watching world, you committed a fraud. And who is dealing with this? Who is dealing with this? Who is holding them to account?
Confusing ending.
Confusing ending. What is confusing about it? There is nothing confusing about it. You are trying to confuse the situation. It is very clear to break down the key elements of this and demonstrate straight clearly. There's nothing confusing about it. It is just entirely wrong. But you are trying to present that somehow it is confusing, and because it's confusing and because it's difficult to understand, we should all just get away with this and we should all move on. That is how you seek to get away with corruption.
In some kind of arbitrary situation where we're still waiting on an outcome. But they have to get it right at the end of the day. If this is the pinnacle of motorsport, they have to have referees and regulators.
So you say the right things, don't you? You know, what you do, you put things into people's mind, but then you bring it back by saying, but yeah, we have to do the right thing here. But then you put things into people's mind, but we have to do the right thing because you present yourself as giving this balanced opinion. You know, oh, we'll just put forward the facts and we'll let you decide. But you're not putting forward the facts, are you really? You're putting them with a slant, a one-sided slant. You're actually focusing on irrelevant things. You're actually bringing into the mix things which you should be able to expose the fact that it's bullshit. But you're not doing any of that. You're pretending. You're pretending to be this voice of reason, this oh, but it could be this, it could be that, it could be the other, and not explicitly exposing the true crux of the matter.
It's befitting that.
So therefore, have they made a rod for their own back, really,
Yes,
with the way that...
I think it's a huge problem, because I think that a company like Mercedes will say, if you are not going to adjudicate this sport correctly in the way that the rules are written, and you're just going to make up the decision at the last minute according to a whim, you know, let them race or whatever it might.
And the strap-on fans will go, like Nelson in The Simpsons, ha ha, it's Mercedes having a moan again. Ha ha, it's Mercedes having a moan again. No, let's not make this about Mercedes. This is about cheating in sport. This is about corruption in sport. It doesn't matter the individuals involved. It doesn't matter the teams involved. This is mechanics of out-and-out corruption. So let's not try and make this oh, Mercedes might not be happy about this and they might no longer compete in the sport. This is out-and-out corruption. This is match fixing. This is race fixing. This is cheating of the highest order perpetrated by the governing body of the sport in conjunction with the other contributory parties, which are Red Bull, which are Sky Sports F1. These boys presenting right now, F1 TV, the sport of Formula One, because none of them teams stood up and said, we were disadvantaged too by you restarting that race in the manner that you did. That's an illegal way of resuming racing, and we protest the finish to that race. None of them did. You're all complicit with the fraud.
Might be, then we're not playing.
Okay, we understand that Red Bull have just come out at the front of their home, and their head of communications has said, we're here to race. Mercedes are here to disrupt it with their...
So Red Bull like to gaslight. We're here to race. Okay, the issue is the rules have been broken, and you're going to say, we're here to race. And the Red Bull fans will go, yes, it's all about what we want to see a race, don't we? You saw a race, your guy was getting beaten. The rules were then broken. Do Argentina coming out after the World Cup final where they've been illegally awarded a penalty and said, oh, well, we're here to play football. We're here to play football. You just got gifted a fucking penalty when the foul was in the halfway line. You coming out after the game and saying, well, we're just here to play football. So we're not here to have this settled in a court of law. Well, you've just been handed a massive benefit. You've just been handed the World Cup through corruption. So you coming out and saying that is totally irrelevant, isn't it?
Team of lawyers, you know, I'm praising what they're saying at the moment, but yeah, look, they brought a QC along because presumably they were concerned about this exact situation unfolding.
Why was that then? What did you know in advance, Mercedes? You brought a QC along. Now the jury's out on this one, because is it a smokescreen? Because were Mercedes complicit within this? Mercedes didn't send Toto Wolff along to that appeal. The alarm bell should be ringing there. The main man at Mercedes should be going into that important appeal. He didn't go. Why? Significant questions to answer there, Toto.
Yes, this is Paul Harris, who, by the way, represented them successfully in the 2013 tyre test gate saga. Remember when they had...
Here we go, fuckboy Slater. Okay. Oh, the 2013 tyre gate. Yeah, that's right. The strap-on fanboys. Yeah. See, Mercedes were illegal. They did a tyre cheat. Yeah. This is the strap-on. Feed the strap-on fans. Hype them up and let's have a look. Okay. Let's have a look. Go on to whichever search engine you use and do your research. Okay. Pirelli has also been reprimanded. Now let's go on. Now there's a different few places you can do your research. I don't suggest that you actually believe everything Andrew Benson says because he is a fraudulent fucker as well, right? But what it does say here is that the FIA had given Mercedes qualified approval for that test. Okay, Mercedes had inquired with the FIA whether they could be allowed to do a tyre test, and the FIA had indicated to them that yes, they could. There'd be no reason why they couldn't, as long as the other teams were given the opportunity to that test. Those other teams were not denied that opportunity, but it's just when they found out, they then complained to the FIA. Now, this was 2013, using the Mercedes 2013 car, so they weren't benefiting for the following season. Okay, what happened again, do your research, because teams are saying, oh yeah, 2013 Mercedes did an illegal tyre test, they benefited, Lewis Hamilton should have some penalty. What? Let's have a look what happened in 2013. If you can go on to Wikipedia, look at the 2013 championship, the World Drivers' Championship standing. The winner, Sebastian Vettel. What was he driving? Red Bull. Second, Fernando Alonso. What's he driving? Ferrari. Third, Mark Webber. What's he driving? Red Bull. Fourth, Lewis Hamilton. So this is what it got the Mercedes. So the strap-on boys. Okay, let's see what you're arguing about. What's your beef? The Constructors' Championship. First, Red Bull Racing. They won the Constructors' Championship. Oh yeah, but Mercedes did an illegal test. They should be disqualified for everything. Right? Okay. Did they win anything through having done this test that the FIA had given them verbal approval for? Right, but Slater here, old Slater, he likes to invite the controversy, doesn't he? Let's have a look what Slater's telling us about Mercedes QC. Let's bring this into it, Slater.
Situation unfolding.
Yes, this is Paul Harris, who, by the way, represented them successfully in the 2013 tyre test gate saga. Remember when they had a private tyre test with Pirelli?
So let's vilify Mercedes once again, shall we?
And that was protested by Red Bull, in actual fact, amongst others.
Protested by Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull, their driver, won the championship that year, and as a constructor, they won the title.
But in the end, Paul Harris was able to negotiate a fairly slight punishment.
The legal team managed to negotiate a straight punishment, or was it just a simple fact of these permissions were given by the FIA, and we just went ahead and did it?
For Mercedes at that time found them guilty of no deliberate wrongdoing, but
so they were found guilty of no deliberate wrongdoing. But you thought that you'd like to bring that into the equation, did you, Slater? At this time, when there's controversy that Red Bull are involving themselves in, having just been gifted the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, let's see what happens tonight. Might we get the ultimate decision deferred till tomorrow morning? Because both sides have to present their evidence. It has to be considered, and then I think quite a precise verdict and explanation of that verdict will have to be written up.
Why do both sides have to present? Both sides. There's two sides in this. Mercedes, who have been negatively impacted. They've had their driver deprived of winning his 8th World Championship at the hands of the FIA race director, who has broken the rules of the sport. They are the two sides. There is a clear right and a clear wrong. And that clear wrong is the fact that the FIA have broken the rules of the sport. There is no counter-argument to that. There is no validity to it. So there is a clear right party and a clear wrong party. Where do Red Bull will come in? Where are any other sides in this? There aren't. But this little 5-minute video is to convince the world of the confusing aspects of it all.
So I think that's a process that could take a couple of hours from here.
Okay.
So there you go. There you go. This is the nature of the gaslighting bullshit that Sky Sports F1 continually presented to the world. And, you know, you can look at the comments section here. We've got one. In case anyone was wondering about the Mercedes appeal, the procedure regarding cars unlapping behind a safety car is that once the lapped cars are allowed past, the safety car must do one additional lap around the track to ensure they are clear of the race resuming. Okay, that is not the purpose, but again, this is somebody's interpretation of the purpose. What he said about it must do a lap round, that's true, but that's not its purpose. Okay, not to ensure that they're clear. Okay, it's to give them the opportunity to catch the back of the pack. This has been the case for many years and has been consistent ever since its inception, remarkably. Okay, so as I say, it was reintroduced in 2012. The issue here is that Massey and the stewards decided that the safety car would come in the same lap as the cars could unlap themselves. So only 5 of them, they weren't all given the opportunity, in order to create a one-lap race when in effect the race would have ended the moment the cars unlapped themselves due to lap count. So there you go. It's a safety car finish. What the stewards should have done is either red flag the race. No, because as I keep saying, in any other Grand Prix, on any lap of any other Grand Prix, any time throughout the season, you would deal with that incident with a safety car. Just because it's the last 5 laps of the last Grand Prix of the entire season, you don't treat that situation any differently. You deal with that with a safety car. Okay, so again, this is something that was proposed and has been thrown into the mix to confuse, to muddy the waters, to present as an option. Oh, it could have been this, it could have been that, they could have decided to do this. No, not a valid option. The criteria that you would use to determine whether you're going to red flag a race, that incident did not meet red flag criteria. That was a safety car situation, and it couldn't be cleared up in time enough for the racing to go resuming, so therefore it's a safety car finish. That's what the rules of the sport are there for. Okay, we would have got 4 insane laps to the finish. Okay, insane. All about excitement again. No, you saw the Grand Prix, and then you follow the rules, and if that takes it to its conclusion, that's what it is. Or keep the 4 cars between Ham and Verstappen and go racing. Again, that's not a viable option. Again, people have been conditioned to believe that that was possible because of everything that was presented at the time. And the lapped cars would have received blue flags and gotten out of the way before Lewis was even halfway through the first lap. Okay. Again, these whole fake scenarios, they're all fake scenarios. All the back markers would have got blue flags, so they'd have had to get out of the way of Verstappen. Look at Sainz relative to Verstappen when they crossed the start-finish line to restart that 58th illegal lap. Sainz was 2.5 seconds back with 2 lapped cars in situ. So it doesn't matter that then lapped cars got blue flagged and had to get out of the way. Sainz is 2.5 seconds back. If there's 5 lapped cars in between 2 competitors, which they're not allowed to be there anyway, because you can't resume racing like that, it means that Verstappen is likely to be 4 or 5 seconds back. He's not going to make up 4 or 5 seconds, but they pretend that he is. Okay, but again, that whole scenario that I've just described is bollocks because you can't go racing like that. So let's not even go off down that little windy road because it takes you nowhere. It's a ridiculous, it's a fantasy because it's not allowed to happen. But they pretend, even they follow that fantasy down and tell you, oh, but they'd have got out of the way with blue flags and then would have seen this fight. You're not allowed to do that in the first place. But even if you follow your fucking bullshit lie down that route, he's 5 seconds back. You think he's coming from 5 seconds back within a 1 lap or 2 laps. It's not happening, is it? Anyway. But again, that comment got 628 likes. 628 likes to that comment. And I've not done a single video that's got more than about 200 likes. This is the ridiculous nature of it all. This is the miseducation of people. This is what we're fighting against. Ignorance. Absolute ignorance. Anyway, enough of that one. The more I keep plodding away, hopefully it's going to educate more and more people, and more people will see what is true and what is actually relevant. See you next time.